All right, so here I have a sheet of the Canson Meton paper. Not sure of the exact color name. I pulled this out of a pad and it's not labeled. So, light gray tone to it, right? And so every sheet of paper that is the color options in the supply list, all of the colors have a relative value. Light, middle, or dark middle, or like mid middle, right? So, like every color has an assigned value. The color is either light, mid, or dark, right? So this is kind of like a light middle gray. And so I'm just going to go over quickly the tools that you have at your disposal to complete this drawing, so that you can get the work done this weekend, um, and just kind of review what the objective is technically today. So we have Vine charcoal in our kit. I have a little skinny Vine charcoal and I have a big chunky one. I don't expect you to have the big chunky, I just happen to have it. We have compressed charcoal, which gives you that super dark mark. I have one charcoal pencil, although you're supposed to have more than one. This is a 6B charcoal pencil. I have an eraser. You should have a pen eraser and like a plastic eraser or rubber eraser of some kind. And I have a white pencil. This is called a white charcoal pencil, although that's like an oxymoron because charcoal is not white, but it's like a white pastel pencil. So you should have a white pencil or white chunk of Conte or a white something, pastel something, to add the lighter value to this paper, because in order to get the lightest lights, we're going to have to add white media to this paper. So I'm going to do like a straightforward sketch of a pretend sphere, which you've probably seen your drawing instructors do in the past. This is kind of an awkward angle for me to be working in because this board is flat on a table and I'm used to it kind of being up on an easel. So let me start. You obviously don't have to wear gloves. I just hate getting my hands dirty, and my skin's so dry in the wintertime that I try not to wash too much. I tend to wash my hands a lot. Okay. So your project is you had to create your sculpture, which should be done as of tonight, and you have to set up your sculpture in a still life arrangement with the original object. So you're not drawing a sphere, you're drawing your sculpture, your papercraft sculpture, alongside your original object, and hopefully laying them out in a way that is interesting, creating an interesting composition. Okay. All right. So I'm not going to fudge around too much so that this doesn't take too much time. So that was my Vine charcoal, just kind of putting down some tone. You're going to see another demo video in the near future of me drawing this sphere using a different technique. I'm not like a huge proponent of smudging, despite all the smudging I'm doing right now. I'm just trying to lay down like a sea of value. The eraser for this project and for your next project is going to be super important. It's not only going to act as a way of fixing mistakes, but also as a useful drawing tool. Hopefully you did a little bit of this in drawing one, what's called reductive drawing. Removing charcoal to create the illusion of value, or light, I should say. I'm just going to get rid of all of this. So the trick, or like the objective here, we're using this toned paper, whether it has a color or what have you, or it's just like a neutral gray. It has a value to it. And so we want the value of the paper to be active in the value structure of your drawing. And so we can't cover it all up. Like, covering it all up would nullify the fact that we have spent this money on a colored sheet of paper. So the paper has to exist within the light and value structure of the drawing. That means you cannot allow the black charcoal to mix up with the white media, to get a range from dark to light, you have to go through the tone of the paper. So it goes dark, you know, whatever tone of your paper it is, it's going to be somewhere in the middle of the value scale. So you can't have the white and dark media mixing together to create that illusion. You have to let them kind of live on their own. So I'm going to bring this in here, round this out, patch that in. Now before I add any white media to this, I'm going to push all my darks dark, because we know that the charcoal can make a mess. It can spread all over the place. I usually have, I don't think I have one nearby right now, but I usually have like a can of air, like keyboard cleaner, compressed air. So I'll just like psh, psh, psh. It's a useful thing to have on you because you can like blow all the crap off your paper, the extra eraser boogers and charcoal dust and stuff. Anyway, just try to get the darker values plugged in before you go in too heavy with any of the white media. You should also have some tortillons or blending stumps, which can be useful as well. If you don't have them for this project, try to get some for the subsequent projects. I love pencil for some hatching. If you haven't employed hatching a lot in the past, I'm gonna be like harping on it this semester. So hatching is a great way to slowly build value. Vine charcoal is great for big washes. You know, blocky compressed charcoal is good for dark darks and big washes as well. But the hatching just gives you that ability to be more specific in where you're making marks, but also kind of subtly and more slowly building toward an appropriate value shape. So hatching, maybe it's not obvious, but I would hope that in drawing one you went over this. Hatching is when you are making a series of marks in one direction. Cross hatching is when you cross that hatch mark. So hatching, cross hatching. You want to avoid cross hatching at a 90-degree angle. That can start to look a little bit like basket weave texture, whereas it's easier for this to assimilate into a value scale. So I'll just do some hatching first, like I'm going kind of in the same direction and I'm just layering my marks. This could afford to get like a little darker, I think, down here. And if I go too dark, obviously, I will just erase back out. Now, maybe I'll cross a little bit. Oh, my pencil's getting a little dull. I'm going to go sharpen this real quick. Okay, I couldn't find my X-Acto knife to sharpen my pencil, so I have a new pencil. Okay, so I'm still kind of going in the same direction. I'll cross in a minute. Okay, cross hatch. So then I just go in at a different angle to do a little crosshatch, and I can soften the transition of this core shadow inside this pretend sphere by kind of feathering things out a little bit. If I want to, I can smudge a little bit more if I want to. Don't have to. And my edges. Okay, it's not perfect. Obviously, you're going to be spending more time tightening things up. This eraser's really a good eraser. Reiterate that. And you guys have that pen eraser too. Like I mentioned, so you can get really tiny little marks. And I love hatching with that pen eraser. I can't find mine right now, but I know I have one somewhere. Okay, probably bring this up a little bit. this isn't quite right. Let me get some Vine. Continue. I'll probably erase that back out, but I just want to follow that line for a minute. I already put some compressed charcoal down here. I can do another layer to try to darken some stuff up. I can do like a tiny little strip within this core shadow to start to darken some areas up in here. I'm not being like super careful with anything because it's just charcoal. I can just mush it around, erase it out. But I am using all the charcoal tools that I have. I'm using the Vine, I'm using the pencil, I'm using the compressed. It's important to use the tools you have at your disposal. And here I'm hatching back in with the eraser. Smoosh that around. Okay, good enough. Let's start with the white. So again, I could have a white Conte stick, a white pastel. I just have this white pencil here. So I pushed all the darks down. I'm going to shake this off one more time. Before I put any white media down, I'm assessing my still life. I don't really have a still life here, but you'll be assessing your still life. Where's the lightest lights? Where's anything that's lighter than the tone of my paper? I need to add white. But before I add white, I have to erase any charcoal that might be in that spot. So I'm just going to take my eraser and do like another pass to get rid of it. Because when you start mixing this charcoal, the dark charcoal, and your white media, you're going to get this gross looking blue color that is going to detract from the value structure of your drawing. And it will start to look like you're mixing color instead of creating a value range. So you want to clean up any charcoal that might be in the way. You don't want that white media to be put down on top of dark charcoal. Maybe I'll put a little down here. I would also have, I might not need it down here, but I would probably also have a little bit of reflected light, like something happening down in here. Hatch back in. I wish I had my pen eraser and just use that here. Okay. I'm not going to be too precious about this for the sake of time. Before I continue, I'll keep erasing this out because I'm realizing I need to have less charcoal here. More paper. The paper is going to be more important here than I initially assumed. So really scrub that charcoal out. This paper is decent, you know, like it's a few bucks a sheet. It can handle a little bit of abuse. I'm making sure that when I'm going to blend, my hand's clean, or I put a new glove on here. And then I'm not blending this into dark charcoal. And if you only have a pencil like this at your disposal, no big deal. Just do a bunch of hatching and build up your layers. And do a little cross hatching, what have you. Maybe I put a little down there. That might be too much. Okay. And then maybe I shift my mark making and throw some light horizontally on the wall in the background, making sure I'm going up to the edge of the sphere, but not crossing in. Again, broken record, so I'm not mixing the black charcoal and the light charcoal. I would take a break here. I would sharpen this up. Get some over here too. And then if I go to light with the white Conte or white pastel or whatever, I'll just erase back down to the paper to darken it. So I would refine this edge so that it looks like it's actually falling behind there. Also lighten this up a little bit. Anyway, I could go at this all day long, making it look perfect, or better. But again, I don't want to make you guys watch this for a million years. I'm running out of pencil here, but I would continue this all the way up here. Anyway, so that's basically like the tools you have at your disposal, how I expect you to use them. I expect you to use, this is rough, right? I would work on these transitions a bit more, soften some of them. But I expect you to use the correct paper. If you don't have the Canson Meton paper, I heard the bookstore might not have it after all, even though they had it last semester. Don't know why they wouldn't have it now. But if you don't have the Canson Meton paper, there's a roll of brown craft paper underneath the chalkboard in our classroom. Use a sheet of that measured to 19 inches by 25 inches. I expect you will use your Vine charcoal. I expect you will use your compressed charcoal. I expect you will use your charcoal pencils, your eraser, pen eraser, and I expect that you will use white media of some kind. White pastel, white charcoal, white Conte. And get a full range of value, allowing the tone of the paper to live within the value structure of your drawing. And that's it.